We're talking about You're Charming today, the third episode, which is written by Emma Barry and directed by you, dude, Guillermo del Toro.
He's always been a fan of the show, and we met through that by him emailing me saying, I love your show, and it was very sweet. And when we shot the scene with him, he was saying things like, you're really going to block it like this? And I was like, hey, man, come on. And I was sending videos to Alfonso Cuarón of Guillermo on set, and Alfonso was like, Guillermo was texting me that you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah, I remember you talking about reshoots a bit during our chats on season 3, but how is that common for you to have to kind of salvage or redefine a moment with loose footage?
Yeah, because we're writing these things fairly fast, and like anything, what you need is time. And it would be great in a perfect world to write a full season and feel really good about it, and then step away from it and then look at it again. But the reality is that it's constantly morphing and constantly honing, you know what I mean? And so I don't know how you shoot stuff without going back and doing pickups, unless, you just hone the script like a perfect diamond, like a play or something. I don't know. But even plays are being morphed, like, they have that whole process, of rehearsals and previews and all that stuff where you can like rewrite things.
I just think when we think about making films or TV, we assume that there's just this kind of like godlike control over every step of the process and just don't realize how quickly things change on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's constantly changing. It forever changes. I mean, I just went to the premiere and watched the first 2 episodes with an audience. And the whole time I was like, oh, we cut that too short. We should have cut back from this and back again. The rhythm of this isn't, we kind of, to take time out of the episode, I think we screwed up the rhythm of this moment. It's you're never really satisfied. So I understand when people say like, oh, the thing has to be kind of pried away from them. I get that.
Episode 4, season 3 of Barry. The name of this episode is All the Sauces. The episode titles are good. Can we just start with that? How do you guys land on that? Is it after you've completed the episode?
Yeah, that was not that, it's very, very late in the game when you'll get an email from HBO saying, hey, we need episode titles. And I think I kind of put them together, and then pretty much are just the ones I kind of came up with off the top of my head. And then actually my assistant, Alyssa Donovan, who's very funny, came up with the title of episode 7. Because I couldn't figure out what episode 7 should be. And so she was like, oh, what if it's this? And I was like, oh, yeah. Sometimes you write stuff, especially when you write stuff as a group, and it becomes the scene's about like 5 different things. And this happens to us all the time. And then you get in the edit and you say, this should be about one thing. And then you realize, like, of those 5 things, what it should be isn't any of those 5 things. It should be about, I know about what's going on, and you need to go fix this.
I'll have a lot of questions for you, I think, in the future about action filmmaking, but it feels like this season is a more of an action set piece series of events. And like, there's a bomb explodes a house in this episode. I mean, this is no joke.
There's not a lot of VFX in that either. That's our special effects guys. Those are all practical effects.
We're talking about season 4, episode 8, the series finale of Barry. It's called Wow. It's written and directed by Bill Hader. When did you know that this was how this show was going to end?
Well, there was a couple of things dating back to season 2, actually. When we were actually shooting the scene in the first episode of season 2 when Kusno's laying on a couch and he's despondent about Janice, and he is talking to Barry and he's talking about killing himself, and he talks about the Rip Torn gun. And while we were shooting that, I kind of just turned to Alec and I said, what if Kusno kills Barry with this gun? And he went, oh yeah. So I didn't think much about it. And then by the time we were outlining the 4th season and we realized, okay, this is it kind of came back. I remember saying, well, there is a version of this where Kusno kills Barry, and it should be with the Rip Torn gun. But what happened with Hank and Fuchs and Sally and all that was not at all flushed out. That was very much in the writing. As we wrote forward, we kind of started to land on things that felt right. And the movie, the idea of it ending with the movie version of what happened, that was later.
Is that common that you would cut up a more extended sequence of dialogue?
Well, yeah, especially if I know I want to do it in one. If I don't have a cutting point, then yeah, you want to be able to you have to do it there, and make sure, because I've done that as well, where you shoot it all in one, and then you get in the edit and you go, oh God, this is way too long. I wish we could lose this. I wish we could lose this, but we can't. So we just have to kind of make it work.
You choose to do really tight close-ups on both Anthony and Steven for those sequences too. Why did you do that?
I feel like it's really interesting visually. It's a 27 millimeter lens, like right in their face. And it's a little distorted, which kind of helps with like the kind of tone of the whole thing.
Barry's line of dialogue as he is shot by Cousineau is a wow.
Yeah. There's a bunch of them, actually. I did like 20 of them. There's a whole series. And I think one, I sit down, I go, oh, yeah, I think oh, wow, is the one that made Ali Greer, the editor, laugh the hardest. So we put that one in. Initially in Hank's death scene, I made a big mistake. So I thought that Sally and Hank meeting was going to be this huge thing that people were going to love. Oh my God, these two characters are finally meeting. And I said, this meeting has to change their course somehow. It has to be a big deal and everything. And the thing that was going to do it was they both realized that they kind of had this same disease, which is we loved and got fucked over by Barry disease. It doesn't make sense. And I know this because Sarah said it while we were shooting it. She goes, I don't know why we're doing this. And I would go, I got no other ideas. I have no other ideas. I'm like, let's just shoot it, And I was like, I think it works. I think it's going to be great. And she made all very valid points. And then we shot it. And then I got in the edit, and and Frankie, the editor, said, yeah, I'm just trying to get around Sally putting his hand in the thing. I'm just trying to cut that out because it's really sentimental and dumb. And it just makes zero sense. And I was like, oh, God, okay. And I called Anthony and said, hey, we're going to reshoot your death scene. And he went, oh, thank God. And the reason it doesn't work and why I'm bringing it up is a couple of reasons. But the biggest one was I had enough journalists have been like, wow, the show's really bleak. The show isn't funny anymore. It's really bleak. And so I think I got insecure about that and wanted to put in a really these two characters having a real moment together that wasn't bleak. So that's what's bad about reading about your stuff and reading about the show, is that you can be influenced by it without even really knowing it. I figured this out in retrospect. And then the other thing is fan service. It's like, oh my God, the fans will love this. So those are the motivations for writing that scene, not character.
It's an amazing lesson in writing. I feel like I always ask filmmakers, do you read your own reviews and your own press? And I'm always so interested. And I think half of them lie to me and half of them tell the truth. And those who tell the truth are pretty wounded most of the time because it's really challenging.
It is challenging. It is kind of a weird magnet that draws you to it. And then when you read it, even nice ones, you can kind of be thrown by because you go, well, that's not really what I was thinking. And that's, and some of the criticisms of this season have kind of come back to me through other people and stuff who worked on the show. And some of it we've talked about here. And it's interesting because some of the criticisms are stuff that we had talked about. My favorite thing I ever saw a filmmaker say about that was when Martin Scorsese's interviewed by Richard Schickel, and Richard Schickel said, I saw Shutter Island and I have a lot of thoughts about it, and not all of them are very good. And Scorsese said, I can't hear it. Like, I don't want to hear it. I've definitely had people say that stuff, but it is hard. It is interesting because I'm a fan too, and I read up on stuff and I have opinions and I get the same way about things. And it is interesting once you make stuff, I am much more kind of like, okay, well, is that a criticism valid? Or, am I just saying, God, I wish it was this instead of what it was? Or are you taking it on its own, like standards of like what it's wanting to be? I learned this on the show. This was a big learning experience for me, and it is helpful, is that I would write lines and put things in there like during the scene where the boy is watching the movie, we had a line in it where the friend said, "Do you remember this happening to you?" And the boy goes, "Yeah, barely, kinda." Allie Greer, we were cutting it, and Allie just every time that line would come up, she would go, "Hmm," and I was like, "Yeah, that feels like it kind of ruins the flow of stuff." And you go, "Yeah, that's us doing that so the audience knows we thought about it." And so it doesn't move the story forward in an interesting way, and it doesn't give you interesting information. It's more of like dialogue that makes you aware that it's more like you're saying, "I'm not dumb." I will just say, as somebody who grew up loving movies, watching, commentaries, learning that I read all the books, you know, listened to everything about making stuff. The difference between that and actually doing it is huge. And now you can do it in a way that I would have killed to have had when I was in my late teens, early 20s, And so if you're, you know, I would listen to a thing like this because I would want to learn about something. And so that's the biggest thing I learned was I feel like forever I was like a fan. And even at SNL, I was still like a fan. And then actually from the first day of the pilot, sitting down and like, okay, I'm directing this. And I was so lucky to have an actual professional crew and so lucky to have this experience. And then I helped one of my kids with their project that they were doing on their phone and cutting an iMovie. And there is a massive difference, obviously, but actually in the thing, there's not a lot of difference. You're still making choices. I'm still going, are we on the right side of the line here? Hold on. Thinking about lighting. What does a shot mean? Does a shot tell a story? All that stuff you can do with your phone, and you can do with a good camera, and you can really learn. So I will just say that has been the biggest experience for me. And the thing I'm just so grateful for is to have a chance to get to do that and to be able to learn over the 4 seasons how to make something and hopefully get a chance to just keep doing it.